Hello and welcome to the guide for installing Archipelago for StarCraft 2. Let's get started. Now our home base of sorts is going to be the Archipelago website, archipelago.gg. Let me just open that up. This is pretty easy to type in yourself, and you can also search for it. Now, if you're not following this current guide, you can click on Setup Guides, and the very first guide will be a general Archipelago installation one. I already know how to install Archipelago, however, so I'm going to scroll down over here to the source code link. There will be a similar link within that Archipelago setup guide. Now, if you're a non-programmer, this page may look a little intimidating. This is intended more for programmers. However, we only care about this one little button over here, Releases, and the one with the little latest button. I'm going to click on that. So, at the time of making this guide, the most recent version is 0.4.6. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and you can see 0.4.6.exe, set up Archipelago, and by default, it's Windows 10, which is what I'm currently on. If you're on a different operating system, you may use a different one. Let's just download that. Now, let's put this in my most dramatic folder, and save it there, and let's just open that up. Most dramatic folder, and let's run that installer. It will request administrative privileges. It will ask me to accept the license. This is the MIT license. If you track that kind of thing, it's quite permissive. I'm not playing A Link to the Past, so I'm not going to download the A Link to the Past player sprites. I don't really want desktop shortcuts, but you may want this. And we're going to click install. This is currently installing to the C program data folder. I'm just going to open that up while we wait. This PC, C, program data. Now you'll notice this folder icon is faded. That means it's hidden. In other words, if you don't see it, you may have to click View and check your hidden items. Let's close that. And check your hidden items icon in order to see it. So, program data, Archipelago is already installed, and I'm going to go back to the launcher. I don't need to launch the launcher because I want to show you where it actually is. Now, within here, we mostly care about the StarCraft 2 client. There are other things that you may want to do locally, like you may care about generating a game locally. You may want to run a local web host. And the general Archipelago launcher will also let you set up some template settings that you can edit locally. I'm not going to cover that for now, so let's just open the StarCraft 2 client. Now this is the client. This actually doesn't include the current game or so-called seed for how things have been rolled for you. We still have to do additional setup for that. I'm going to minimize that and return to the Archipelago page to show you how to do that. So we're going to want to get to the options page. So get started. Let's look at supported games. And let's search for StarCraft 2. So I'm going to go straight to the options page, but I'll leave this open because there's another page we'll want to look at later. I've already filled in some options, so you can see I've filled in my name, Veneros. You're going to want to set these to taste. However, note that over here, you can enable and disable certain campaigns from appearing in your seed. Now, not all of the campaigns are free content, so you might not own all of them, and in general in Archipelago, we encourage that everyone has played the game vanilla before they have played it randomized. You may get a lot of side-eye if you don't do that. Now, you can set these however you want. You can click these little dice roll buttons in order to randomize the option. And at the bottom, if you're just playing single player, you can click Generate Game immediately. Also useful is this Export Options button. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go back to my most dramatic folder, and I'm going to export my options as a YAML. Most dramatic folder, Veneros. So this is essentially a way of saving your settings as a single file. You can actually set more settings in the YAML that you can in just the guided user interface page. You can do things like use triggers to correlate different options. There are some options that don't appear because they're too complex to appear in the GUI. Currently, that would include things like excluding certain items or providing a list of items that are required to appear, or things that might appear in your starting inventory before you've even played any missions. You can also exclude certain missions. You can exclude a specific location within a mission from giving you an item, etc., etc. I'm not going to cover that too much. However, note probably a more common use for the YAML is if you're playing a multi-world with other people, every player is expected to contribute their own YAML to the pool, and one person will generate. You also need this YAML if you want to generate locally using that Archipelago generate exe I mentioned before. Now, if you want to generate on the web page using an exported YAML, we're going to go back over here. We're just going to click on Generate Game. And over here, you can upload the files, and you can even set some extra settings, such as if your server will have a password so that other people won't grief your game if you're, say, a streamer and worried about that. You can change what percentage of locations will earn you a hint point so that you can hint for where a certain item might be or what a location might contain. There's other options here you might check out. So over here, I already have a whole bunch of YAMLs lying around. I'm not going to do this. Let's go back to the options page and just generate a game for a single player. So this over here is going to be the seed page. This will include a spoiler. I don't want to be spoiled, so I'm not going to click on that right now, but it's useful for debugging or if you feel stuck. And I'm going to create a new room. I'm going to click straight on that. I don't have to go back to the seed page. So this is a pretty important page. This is essentially your portal into your seed. If you're inactive for a period of time, the room might shut down. You can restart it by just going back to this page and refreshing it. It also includes the server log. If you've enabled server commands, you can go over here and you can do things like give yourself extra items or extra locations. Say you ran into a technical issue and a certain location didn't check. You can go over here and use something like send location. I don't need to worry about that right now. The important thing for us getting started is this right here. This tells us how to connect a client to this room. So I copy pasted that. I'm going back to our client and I'm just going to paste that right here. And over here, it asks me to enter my slot name, which you might remember from the options page. If I've forgotten it, it's right over here in the room page. Now, my name is Benaros. And it's letting us know that everything seems to be installed and that we're connected. If this is your first time connecting, or it's your first time after a while, we encourage you to run this download data command, by which I mean things won't work if you don't run this command. This just makes sure that all of your files are up to date locally. Now, normally it's supposed to let you know if it's out of date. It doesn't in my case because I already have everything updated. It tells us that it's successfully downloaded, and once it's done, it will give us this download complete message. This can take a second. Over here, you can see that things have successfully generated, and we are successfully connected. The background of the buttons will let you know what faction you're playing as in the mission, because not everyone remembers all of the missions by name. The text will be this kind of grayish, whitish color if it's not unlocked. It'll be this bluish color if it is unlocked, and we can play it right now. It'll turn a much brighter white if we've completed and we've 100%ed all of the locations within there. And hidden somewhere in here, into the void, this is the epilogue campaign. This text is very faintly orange. We should really improve this. This is the final mission. You can see when I hover over it, it says final mission, and it requires salvation, and you can kind of trace this around to see what requires what. You can get very different arrangements of missions if you set the mission order option back on the options page. This is the vanilla shuffle play it. Now, before I get started, there's a few extra pieces of information that might be good to know about. If we're back over here on the room page, you can click on this tracker page. And what this includes is a visual display of all of the items that you have collected. So all of these icons will light up as you collect it. There are some filler items such as additional starting minerals and gas and supply. It'll track all of that, your Kerrigan level, and it'll even track which locations within each mission you have completed. We do have a lot of people asking, why am I getting so many starting minerals and starting gas? Well, that's because the number of items must match the number of locations in your world. This is just an archipelago constraint currently. So if you're getting lots of minerals and gas, that probably means that you just have a lot more locations than there are items. Currently, if you include absolutely everything, then you're going to find a whole bunch of them because we just have a lot more locations in StarCraft 2 than items at the moment. This might change in future versions. Another good thing to know about, back over here on the supported games, I clicked on this options page. There is also setup guides specific to StarCraft 2. Over here in English. So this includes some tips on how you might want to set up your YAML, but importantly, somewhere in here, there should be the icon repository. So you can follow this link, or you can just memorize this long URL, and this will tell you what every item does, right? You can search around, so, you know, what is the Valkyrie? It's this unit over here. It's an advanced anti-aircraft fighter. You can search around. It even has a table of contents, which has a bit of sorting. So things that are just on their own without parentheses are alphabetized, and then things with parentheses are come after and are alphabetized by what unit they upgrade. So this is just a good resource to have. And that should just about cover it. So from here, we can click Breakout. The game should start in the background. The first game of the day will often take a little while longer to load. And here we are. We're loading in. Things seem to be working. If you have any questions, you can follow the link on the Archipelago main page to the Discord, and you can ask away. People there are quite friendly. And yeah, have fun playing randomized Archipelago Starcraft 2.